Greetings, Crocoduck Army! I saw a news story last week about a pastor named Scott Lively. He's definitely not a household name, but I immediately knew who he was. If you've heard of the Kill the Gays law in Uganda, where long prison terms or even death sentences were created for some crimes around sexual orientation, that is, in part, the work of Scott Lively. Before I had heard of him, I thought it was purely backward thinking in a third world country that caused this. And while of course that could well be another factor, I was incorrect in my original assumption. Turns out it was an American who was instrumental in causing this, and now Scott wants your money to help defend him from a Crimes Against Humanity lawsuit, even though he's already getting free legal help from Liberty Counsel, the same right-wing nuts who were defending Kim Davis in Kentucky. Being a bigoted jackass is turning out to be more expensive than he thought. He had been heavily involved in the shaping of the Ugandan Kill the Gays law for years, spending a great deal of time and effort meeting with Ugandan lawmakers crafting the bill. This was a real labor of love for him, or more aptly a labor of hate. The law he helped create was overturned on a technicality in 2014, but according to Ugandan politicians it will be coming back again, and this time it probably can't be stopped. After all, Lively managed to convince these same people that the genocide in next-door Rwanda back in the 90s was carried out by gay militias. He also spent a lot of time lobbying Russia for their anti-gay propaganda laws, and has praised them repeatedly, saying that they're helping stop children from being recruited by adult gay men. He sent Putin a letter back in August of 2013 saying, "You have set an example of moral leadership that has shamed the governments of Western Europe and North America and inspired the peoples of the world." 6 months later, his moral leader invaded Ukraine. Scott Lively, as with most awful people throughout history, didn't start out being an awful person. He was born to a highly dysfunctional family and became an alcoholic before he was a teenager, which I'm sure was no fun. He claims he was born again in rehab in 1986, while in the religiously based 12-step program Alcoholics Anonymous, and he's since determined that it will be his life's work to make sure that the LGBT agenda is stopped, because God said so. On a side note, even today it seems like Alcoholics Anonymous has a hammerlock on the sobriety help market, but there are secular groups available to help with that as well. So if you know you need help and you're hesitating because of AA's religious underpinnings or any other reason, I'll put a link in the info bar for you. You should never be told that you have to believe in a deity to get rid of a disease. The lengths to which Scott Lively will go to make sure that gay people around the world will be harmed as much as possible are truly incredible, and unfortunately his crusade has been pretty successful. I don't know if I have anyone to compare him to in terms of his global reach, well, other than the Fuhrer himself, of course. Speaking of which, he actually wrote a book called The Pink Swastika, claiming that the Nazi leadership was largely gay. By comparison, Chief Justice of the Alabama Supreme Court, Roy Moore, is an obnoxious POS, and he's very well known, and so is Kim Davis, yet they're largely impotent at this point. Scott Lively is a guy that is not nearly as well known, but almost certainly has blood on his hands in more than one country due to his activism, with more to come once those laws in Uganda are reinstated. Remember that name and take a few seconds out to share one of the links in the info bar, or even this video if you prefer. It's time to make Scott Lively a household name.